By Jove, if this worked, then for me, 4 is definitely my lucky number. I cannot tell you how I went through this process for this live stream step by step, very quietly, very methodically, and I hope that you can hear me, the verdant turf. It's good to see you. You know what you've got to do. I don't think I need to tell the OGs on these streams what they can do with their blue wrenches, and that is link yourself up, bring your channel, get your channel some attention. Let me know if you can hear me first things first. Because I'm telling you, it's quite warm here, but I've got goosebumps. I'm about to pass out just because I'm so nervous. Have I got it? Have I done it? Am I live? Can you hear me? Etc., etc. Woohoo! Loud and clear. That means you can also hear the road. Anyway, never mind. It's a good thing. It's a good thing you can hear me. So far, so good. And we're only a couple of minutes into the stream. So what else can go wrong today? Well, electronics and water. I mean, extension cord. I'm plugged up to the power source because the battery is just not charging today. So we are with an umbilical cord attached to my extension cord. We're going to be splashing with water. So, what can go wrong? But it's really nice if you've made it to the stream right off from the start. I appreciate that. I would like to just show you my new little bloom. Hey, Greece! Oh, it's so good to see you. I've not seen you here before, so welcome. At least that name is not familiar to me at all. But if you have been in the comments before, under another name, Sara Provataki. Welcome. I have no idea how to say that in Greek. Oh my goodness, we've got an early riser. Hey Yoshi, how are you? It's good to see you. Thank you so much on a Saturday morning. Wow, that's early for you. Super duper early. Wow. Hope you're doing well, and your littles and your orchid babies. Hope they're doing well as well. Anyway, so she just opened 2 days ago. I had a lot of ants enjoying her as well, so they were a little bit discombobulated because I moved her from the blooming alley for your viewing pleasure while I bring my heart rate down. These streams, I'm telling you, I just look so forward to them, but it's always a trepidation. Is everything going to hook up, link up, and work? So far it is. Just have to bring my heart rate down. Anyway, 14 flowers with the same. Your name is Joy. Well, Joy, I hope I remember that. I usually look at my streams back and hopefully, not forget or see or mention anybody that does come in the chat, because there are a lot of moving parts with these live streams. And sometimes I miss a comment, so I'll make sure to put you on the list of people that I have not seen before. So it's awesome to have you here. Orchids by the Lake is here, I know, right? Whew, I'm honored. If I were to show myself, you would see me do a little bow and then a mini ola from a stadium. Thing is, I just don't show my face because of issues that I've got going on. And that really is not the subject of my channel. I'm not the subject, the orchids are. Anyway, so this is White Bridal, Catleantha White Bridal. She is a wishlist orchid of mine from Jump, and she was one of the last to arrive on the patio. I only found her 4 years later, and she's glorious. And Joy says she has the same orchid. 14 blooms. Oh my goodness, so mine is still a little baby. I have now got goals. I was happy because this is the first year that she's coming in with 2 spikes. Well, I've got both leads about to bloom, so this is the first one that's opened. And then here, I've got 3 more. So that for me was an achievement, but 14, wow. Happy growing is all I can say. Fernanda, how are you? It's good to see you. Well, here's the thing, peeps with the blues. You can see Orchids by the Lake. He has a YouTube channel. If anybody would be able to find his channel for me and link it here, anybody watching at a later stage can then say, ooh, maybe they don't know the channel, and then go and have a look-see what Orchids by the Lake is up to. Baby, another early riser here with us on the patio in southern Spain. It is so good to see you. I'm about to pass out. I'm so excited. Oh, you guys, you don't know how emotional it makes me when I can hang out with like-minded people. And then it's warm and it's beautiful and it's not windy. Sorry. Oh, goodness me, I'm sorry. Hang on a second. Oh, this means so much. You have no idea. And I've got water. If you were here last week, Saturday, they had cut my water because of shenanigans, and I didn't have water all weekend, but anyway, it's good to have you here. These are like, this is why I don't wear makeup. I am so close built to the water. Anyway, where were we? Sorry for the rustling, just putting my glasses back on. B. Humphreys, cartwheels around the patio. Welcome, my goodness, I hope that you are doing well. You have had quite the ride, I think, in your area. I hope things have settled down now and storms have passed. Goodness me. We've got Rick's Orchid, Rick in the house. I'm just going to say Orchid Royalty. Hello, it's good to see you. Alrighty, we put the links in, please. Links to Rick's Orchids. Hang on a second. Here's what I'm going to do. This will help me collect myself as well. Just one moment. If you hear crackling, it's because I'm moving away from the transmitter. But I keep asking people to do something and you're not here to do it for me. Sorry for Mr. Beaky. Hang on a second. Just one moment. The OGs know what I'm doing in the back here. For some reason, I can't do it on my phone. So we're going to correct a few things so that people can enjoy the stream instead of working for it. Hang on a second. Okie dokie, what do we got? Ah! There we go. I've got you. Okay. You are now going to be blue Orchids by the Lake. That means you can get your link and put it into the chat, please. And then I've got now Rick L should be blue as well. So that you guys can just put your links into the chat for anybody who does decide to watch the replay. And I don't have to keep asking and feeling bad that I am putting people off out of their way. So I'm going to carefully move you around again. Bear with me. I'll pick up my extension cord, pick up the tripod. We've got work to do. We've got dem candidates over there. And then we've got these here. Now, yes, I have the umbrella, and I probably am going to have to put the umbrella down. Because of the glaring sun, I kept thinking it was going to make everything darker, and I had to bring the orchids out and prepare. So now what you're going to hear is something that relates and is similar to my bones when I take the umbrella and move it. And let's see if the shade has encroached on to the table without moving my tripod, of course. Oh dear, that's why I was saying lots of moving parts here today. And if it starts to squeak, that's my bones. No, see, squeak, squeak, squeak. That's the umbrella. And that's my knee. Oh, okay, we got a little bit of sun, that's okay. These are the purpuratas I'm going to be focusing on because I wanted to update you on how they're doing. Because we're going to have blooms. Not today, clearly. Come here. Not today, but soon on all of them. And also, I brought out the Pacavia, which is a hybrid, for with the purpurata in it. And she appears to have both leads, both sheaths are also chubby. They feel chubby. Oop. Okay, what are we up to here? I know, but this is how things go here. If I'm preparing for something like this, I can't have them in the blaring sun. There's no breeze today to give them any kind of a cool down. But we're good. Now we're good. Methinks. One more squeak. I need remote control brolly. Alrighty. Next thing, I gotta get you. I have you in a Tupperware with a washcloth because water. Water, water, water. Leah Purdy, hey, it's good to see you. Texas is in the house. Nice, nice, nice. Alrighty, so I got my RO water, and what I do when I flush is pretty much, you would think, duh, she flushes. Yeah, but you gotta watch out for new growths as well. How dark is that? A little too dark, because we can venture into the sun a little bit. A little bit, at least highlight the candidates. There we go. Alrighty. So, people have asked me, and this was in a recent video, people have asked me, do you flush before, after, or whenever? So in my setup, it doesn't really matter that I flush before I fill the reservoir, because my velamen is always damp. But if you're in a wet-dry cycle, what I have suggested, recommended always, is to get the flushing out of the way as soon as possible, and that is before your media actually dries out on the surface. Not the roots, the media on the surface of the pot. While that is still damp, that is the ideal time you would want to flush, because no salts can at this point really attach themselves to the media. And if you remember, if you haven't or know a video, it takes for a big root, a chunky root, a phalaenopsis root, it takes maximum, if that, 15 seconds for that root to saturate. So if you're in a wet-dry cycle, the moment you pour water, nutrients and everything onto the roots, they will absorb those immediately. If as you go around your collection, who needs flushing, you get back to your first one, the surface of your media, of your pot is still dry, it's still wet, sorry, you want to go around and flush straight away, because that will help you to keep the surface of your media intact and as salt-free as possible for as long as possible. It will not flush out any roots. Hang on a second, sorry. It will not flush out any media, any nutrients from the roots at all, because they're already saturated, just like a sponge. In my setup, if the reservoir is dry, this one shouldn't be because I only just put water in it. Then I flush first, fill the reservoir with fertilizer, just plain water, depending on what the orchid is doing, and just put the pot back in its position into the mask. And that will, in that way, at least the surface of the roots, the surface of my media, because of my dry climate, it stays damp. Excuse these pots. Normally when I do them in videos and flush them, I do wash them out. But we're at that time of year that I am not bothering with washing out masks. Okay, so I do have a microfiber here just because of my dry climate, and I would like to protect as many roots and get them into the pot as soon as possible. The reason I'm flushing her is because she is growing new roots, and leca is a desiccating agent if it's allowed to go dry, as you can see here. You see that root tip there? That's already history. This root is not long enough to even allow itself to branch. So that's it, that's done. Now, I'm not fussed when a root is lost like this. I'm not bothered. If I can get 80% of new roots to go into my pot, I'm winning. All right, now if it is an orchid like a brassavola that has stingy root growth, then it is concerning. Every root counts. But in this case, I've got viable roots in the pot. It's a branching root system. These are all little factors that sometimes make me feel much better if I lose a root tip. I would prefer not to, but these are the circumstances in my environment. Now, usually they say, take, let's say, the size of the mask and do 2 of those and flush the pot with 2 full of those. I don't waste water like that, because if you flush regularly, it suffices just to go up and let the water pour out and be done with it. That's it. That's all. There is no more water needs to be wasted, especially if the surface of your media is still damp. That's all you need to do. You can conserve yourself with some of the water. And this is my Laelia purpurata Werkhäuseri. And yes, she has had scale. But you know what? She's going to be purdy very, very soon, because this sheath, it's got yummies in it. Lemon sherbet cream fragrant white orchids with a vintage lavender lip. Coming soon to the patio, a patio near you. Okay, so we've got her out of the way. Now, usually when you flush, you might also have a new growth coming, which is not the case with my Laelia purpurata variety striata. So you don't have to flush all the way like I just did, all the way with the water to the top. If you've got a new growth coming, you want to, of course, avoid the new growth as best as possible, unless you've got plenty of airflow. But I would not rely on that, because I lost a growth on my nobile orchid, Dendrobium nobile, thinking, oh, she's outside, who cares, it's breezy, and I just poured water in there, and that growth was lost. So note to self and everybody else, work around the perimeter of the pot if you've got new growth coming, which again is not the case with this one, but she's doing so well, and I have managed to keep the little microscopic scale, whatever, off this time around, because since January I started treating with garlic alcohol to make sure it doesn't repeat itself. I'm getting a little bit of scale comeback, but I'm on it. There's no real blemishes to the new leaves, as per variety Dalmatian over here. So she is also going to give us some blooms. The buds are all the way up here. Exciting. So she has also just had her CalMag reservoir filled with CalMag a couple of days ago. She doesn't need a pot fill. Here is Laelia purpurata variety Werkhäuseri striata, just because I like white blooms with vintage looking lavender lips. So you see this Dalmatian thing here? That was from last year. All of a sudden they appeared, and Stephen Van Campen Lewis said that they had similar kind of scale. To him, it was like a new variety or a new strain. And yeah, when you can't see them, you can't deal with them until you see the damage. But there's one thing about all of this, it's a learning curve, isn't it? So this is my Werkhäuseri striata, and my dog is about to get a shower. Sorry, King. Ooh, sorry. Yeah. Okay. So there we go. She has also got a sheath. What I'm really pleased about this orchid right here is that her winter growth last year was there. That's another thing, not enough light during the winter, and we can have issues like smaller growths, but she did bloom. Not for long, doesn't have the energy afterwards, but she did bloom, so it's not like there's something wrong with her. But this winter, there's a little bit more growth. So you see, she should be, sorry for that, scooter, she should be at least this tall right here. You know, at least I get this orchid to live. The reason this growth is taller is because this is the first winter I had this orchid outside. All my purpuratas were outside during the winter without bringing them in, which I used to do in the previous years. My leca being, you know, evaporative cooling. Yeah, the temperature drop. My roots never really going dry. It's a dicey thing to have to risk, but I wanted to test it out. Seeing as I have enough structures and purpuratas aren't really divas, I felt I could watch and see what happened and trust I was watching. So with the extra light being outside all the time, not in and out, or on gloomy days I just didn't even bother, she got a bigger growth. So I'm glad that they made it through this winter. It doesn't mean that I can rest on my laurels and say, oh, they can all stay out during the winter all the time. Still have to be vigilant because temperatures can always do something weirdo, like plummet, and then I could be in real trouble. But at least it helps 3 less pots to move in and out. This is my Laelia pacavia, and yes, outdoor growing, lots of dust. I do not fuss with my leaves unless I'm treating for pests. Anyway, Laelia pacavia did not bloom for us in 2023. Why should she if she doesn't get enough light? But behold, her sheath from last year never ever dried out. Having purpurata in her, as long as the sheath is green, there's hope. And we've got buds coming. She's chubby. And I thought I had 2. Oh, here we are. Here's another nice juicy sheath. So there's 2 in here. I always thought I had one with 2 leads, but there's actually 2 in here. And this would be a first time blooming on the second part, the second plant in the same pot. It's exciting. I love it. Very, very happy. She did not stay outside during the winter, but I did schlep her in and out, along with 45 other orchids on the daily. Oh, okay, here we go. Right, new growth. You see, I really should repot her, but not this year. We'll see how the roots go when they start growing, right up against the pot. So, keeping that in mind, the other lead is not starting a new growth. I'm staying in the back. I'm trying to not go all the way to the top. Stay away from that new growth. That's all there is to it. If you see, for example, in your orchids, on the roots, this sort of thing right here, angles, there. They look white, they look crusty, they look nasty. Those are extremely old roots. And yes, that is salt buildup, but it also is over time. You don't want this to happen within 6 months of your orchid being repotted. These roots have been in this pot now almost 3 years. This will be their 3rd season in this pot. So I forgive them for having a little bit of salt accumulation. The rest of the surface of the media doesn't look dusty white or in any way speckled. I've got a video where you will see during the winters how much salt buildup starts to increase in my pots, simply because maybe I've got the timing wrong from when I was last fertilizing heavily based on temperatures before the winter climate, makes me reduce what I'm doing, what I'm giving them. And then you can see real salt accumulation, especially around the mini orchids. They start to shut down. But by that time, I've got the nutrients in the media and everything wicks to the surface. If and when that happens, I just pick off the surface media, and then I may replace with fresh media, I may not, depending on what the circumstances are. If it's cold with high humidity, I leave the bases well alone, pick off the salty media in case there's root growth during that cold temperature season. Don't want them to get any burns on them. But then in the summer, if I need to, like now, if I see the pot's a bit empty, I'll put media back in. But it's really easy to solve a salt buildup on top of a pot. Just take out whatever surface media you have and then put in fresh or leave as is. This one here is my Coilostylus ciliare. Has not bloomed for us in 2 years. That's really upsetting. I love these blooms. They're so cute. But I'm getting 2 new growths here. And yes, I've got natural fertilizer on my leaves. Okay, so these growths are astounding. They grew throughout the winter. I'm kind of proud of myself in that instance, because when you carry orchids out for about 4.5 to 5 months, you're kind of thinking, what are you doing? Are you crazy? And then every once in a while, you go through and you see what's going on and you say, yeah, it's worth it. Even if I don't get blooms, the orchid is alive, I've got new structures, I've got root growth, and there's 2 more new growths coming. I'm very doubtful she's going to bloom for us this year, because she should be blooming in around July, end of June, July. It's a bit late for all of that, but you know what? Like I always say, if an orchid doesn't bloom for you It's not always the light levels. There are other factors, but at least a growth will bring roots. And for me, oh, I'm a root fanatic. All right, last one on the table before I show you some others that we haven't seen before is my Cattleya dowiana. We've got a repot video coming up. But, yeah, my pots, some of them are breaking bit by bit. Some because they were sterilized with bleach before using on another orchid. This one is just because the pot is old. So she is well rooted in, but look at that. Can you see them root tips? There. I wanted to repot her last week. There was no go, but she's getting a flush. She's already really getting into the CalMag in anticipation of the repot. So there's no time constraints really. I can't soak the whole pot, of course, because the repot, you know, I don't know when it's going to happen. Wind, weather, time. But I'm already giving her all the CalMag she needs so that when the time comes, we're ready to rock and roll. It has to happen soon because I don't want those roots to get any longer. She has never bloomed for me. It's a challenge to see if she can bloom. They say that dowianas are hard to grow, they're fussy, etc. I don't think they're hard to grow. The jury is out there if what they're talking about when they say they're hard to grow, are they difficult to bloom? I think that needs to be qualified because growing-wise, she's doing fabulously. She's been in my collection since 2019. It's gotten bigger, bigger, and bigger. I toasted one of her leaves last 2 years ago, probably. But there's nothing wrong with the structures. So I think we should translate dowianas being as difficult to grow into they're harder to bloom. My theory up to this point is, which I can only confirm when she blooms, because of her dark leaves, she doesn't like to be in a lot of sun, light, heat. Although she's a hot grower, you're kind of thinking, okay, she needs a lot of light to bloom. The more light you give her, you've got to make sure that it is shade, the brightest shade you can give her without any direct sun because she will burn quickly. So the leaves are a good color. They won't lighten up the way purpurata leaves do. And I think that is the issue, getting the right balance of light and your dowiana will bloom. That's a theory, like I said, to be confirmed. Stay tuned. You never know what happens next, but she's alive. So we are going to venture back over to the blooms just for a little bit because I want to catch up with chat and see what you guys have got going on. Excuse my fancy iced tea down there. At this moment, glasses are obsolete. We need to hydrate, just like the orchids. And with that, it's bottles. I go through a lot of these bottles per day. Alrighty, where are you? Where's my little box with... Where did I put you guys? Ah, there you are. To the right of the screen. Alrighty. Hey, I've got Orchid Ninja Sharon's son in the house. Hello, from Australia. Linda, it's good to see you. Debbie, howdy doody. We've done the cartwheels around the patio and we've dislocated a shoulder, so just a very weak and sheepish wave. It's good to see everybody. Alrighty, Leah Purdy. Has anybody been able to find Leah Purdy's link to her channel so that we can get her link into the chat, please? She's over there with her little jungle in Texas. And Joe. It's good to see you. Got Amy. Hi. Oh, wow. Nice, nice. Thank you for coming to my patio in southern Spain, where there was hardly any wind. And I've got chills. They're multiplying because y'all are all in here. This is awesome. Okay, what do we got? Yep. Orchids by the lake. Why you can't do leca in wintertime, but you have a greenhouse, monsieur. You killed many orchids and semi-hydros set up, hat off to me. Ah, trust. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. It is an easy setup, but yes, butt, a big one, but only with a single T. Only that kind of a butt. Yeah, I know, right, Rick? You can, Rick, I get so envious of people that live in a climate where it's pouring with rain, like on your channel, when you show your orchid and it's just pouring with rain, and they're just there like drinking it up, and then 3 days later, boom, roots, you know? I'm sitting there going, huh, wishful thinking. That's why when I did a video like 3 years ago or something in September, I had my Phalaenopsis outside in the rain. I had to do a video about that because I was so excited. And it was like, yeah, but people take it for granted. They've got great temperatures. They get torrential rain. It doesn't happen with me that way. Usually when we get rain, you just don't put an orchid outside. Well, you can, but at your own risk, let's just say. Oh my goodness. So we're going up, up, up. Hello, hello. Let me just make sure that I don't miss anybody. Natural fertilizer. The birdies do that. You should see some of the orchids sometimes in winter when the little wild birds hang out where the orchids are. My goodness me. Yeah, I got mine. She was supposed to be near blooming size. That's not what on the cellar. I got my Dowiana when she was like near blooming size, whatever that means. Interpretation. All right, the bulbs on my new Cattleya from Hawaii. She's gorgeous, by the way. Already turned dark purple or black. You had it in front of, I hope dark purple or black means that they're great, not because they're crispy from being in the window. I'm very happy to hear that nobody else has had any visible problems. That's awesome. You have a Bellina. Congratulations. Nah, she'll be fine. If you've got other summer bloomers, she'll be fine. I know, isn't that a great name? I love Volcano Queen. A lot of volcanoes out there, tricks, etc. Bet! Orchid Ninja Bet! Thank you so much. Oh my goodness, I saw you. I saw you and I thought, I just cannot believe it. I did cartwheels on the desk. Today was a day of cartwheels. And Ladybug is in the house. Ladybug also has a channel. Still waiting for the pics of the quilt. Ladybug. So you are welcome to post your link, please. I still haven't seen Leah Purdy's link. If a moderator, if anybody in blue could please just click on Leah's name, go to her channel and get her URL and just post it. I'm sorry to ask, but awesome. So Denise is in the house. Hello, beautiful. It's good to see you. I hope the UK is treating you well and nicely. Alrighty. So I'm going to put the other little ones, the smaller pots, onto the table. We'll talk about those just for a little bit because I haven't shown you Tigrina, my Cattleya Tigrina, or Leopoldii as I know her. She's my 2.0. And well, there's a history as well, because since the start of my channel, I've always wanted one, and I got one with Fusarium, which I limped along for 2.5 years. Excuse me while I hydrate. Goodness me. Right, back to work. Sorry for smacking in your ear there. Rightio. Oh, I can, while we're here, let me show you something else. Okay, oh, the fragrance of this Cattleyantha, you guys. Gardenia, not freesias, but gardenia, very sweet, so delicious. It's just, even in the shade, just permeates the air. It's wonderful. Stan to the right of me is like, what are you talking about? This is my corner. I'm like going, yeah, you chill. Give others a turn. Okay, this is my Dinar Blue Heaven. She had a massive repot root ball cleanup last year. Didn't bloom for us. So now I know. Because I thought she's got plenty of structures, plenty of roots. I only took like 30% off her root system, plonked her in a larger pot. She should bloom. Well, she didn't. Anyway, but there's a sheath in here as well. I just love the new growth of a Dinar Blue Heaven. It comes out with a purpose. It's a statement piece. It's gorgeous. So hopefully it's not a blind sheath and we'll have to wait another year for those blooms. That'll be great. Anyway, what I also wanted to show you, because I have to make a video about this because of the person that sent me the product, the TNC microhydro, the beneficial bacteria, etc., etc. Remember I told you about my dry climate and how difficult it is for me to grow like Vandaceous orchids, and how important it is for me to get roots into a pot. Well, this has never happened before. Can you see that? The branching of this really old root. I've been misting this orchid every once in a while, not as regularly as I should, but she gets misted on the daily. But when the test pots get their TNC microhydro, so does she. Now, I'm not saying there's any beneficials in here, but the seaweed is certainly helping. What is in that product is certainly helping. I'm so excited, and it's helping better than other seaweed products that I've used to mist my orchids with as well, because my Chow Praya, I don't want to bore you, but it's like, how often do I go back there to mist her just to keep those roots growing, keep them going? I have never, ever seen a root explosion branching since I've used that product. I kid you not. Some of you may have seen it in shorts, some of you may have seen it in videos. The branching is insane on roots that look like they're dead because they're that old. I love it so much. I love it. So yeah, that one has also gotten TNC microhydro. It's just mind-blowing. So and besides that, it has had seaweed in all the years prior. And yes, it grew nice roots, but nothing compared to what I'm seeing now. It's just nuts. Love it. I think I'm going to have to take some pictures or just do a quick video and just take the pictures and show. Look at this one. You think it's dead. Branching. There, 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 there. So I'm over there with my sprayer just going bonkers because I don't want them to stop. I want them to continue growing. And what I'm doing now is focusing on a really, really old root. I'm like, I'm going to make you grow at least something. And that thing is just sticking out like some kind of a twig, you know. I'm like, you look like the rest of them. I'm going to make you grow. Anyway, those are my ambitions. It's just stuff like that that just tickles me. I just can't. I love it. Okay, right. Next up. Here we go. I feel like a woman with her handbag. Excuse me, darling. Can you just bring my extension cord? Thank you. Okay. We are not seeing much now, are we? Because how bad is it on the screen? Is the camera compensating? Is it really dark? Let me do a little check. The reason I use white pots is because they look nice, Ladybug. That's exactly the reason. No, I just think that, I don't know. I've always been the kind of person that I favor white all the time. It's peaceful. I don't know, it just makes my eyes, it gives my eyes a place to rest as well, with all the leaves and growths and things sticking out and everything going everywhere, because orchids are hard to contain in pots and make always look aesthetically pleasing. The white pots just tone down the madness. Okay, it is a bit dark, Bet, isn't it? Okay, if you don't mind then, we are going to change location because we have that option. So moving to the staging area where there will be a little bit more light. I hope no dog did something behind my back. You know, while you were away. It's like, oh no, awkward, embarrassing. Alrighty. So yeah, my transmitter is in the sun, but we can do this for a little bit. And underneath, I've got my area that's coming into bud. But because I know the orchids I'm dealing with now have no issues, I'm just going to let the water trickle onto my maxillaria tenuifolia. I'm not going to fuss with, oh, water sharing, etc., etc. So let me bring two. This is my Cattleya brasiliensis. Well, it's bicolor brasiliensis, but anyway. She came to me also like bare root, and then we did the suspended potting up method where no roots touched the pot, and the media was, no roots touched the media. The media was halfway down, forcing the roots to go in the direction of the humidity. And she is fully rooted in. Ta-da! What do I do with an empty pot? Now, I don't know if she's mislabeled. She could be. She shouldn't be a bifoliate. But considering where I got her from, no, that's the wrong one. I didn't get her from Floralia. She came from Africa. There we go. Got new root growth, collateral damage because, you know, you've got a whole circumference of a pot to grab onto when you go grab a pot, and you put it right there on top of a root tip. Doi. Happens often. So, because she's in active growth, and she is, let's say, a juvenile, she's not even blooming size yet, but she has a lot of roots in there. When I prepare a bucket, I always prepare, let's say, the maximum for the biggest orchid that I'm going to fertilize. That's my parts per million. It can be 800 in my bucket. And then as I go around, I dilute as per what each orchid needs and the size of the orchid. So I get my maybe 800, I dilute to 600, 300, 500, you get the point. So empty mask. And because I knew the orchids that I was coming out, you know, while you were away, or how do they say? I prepared something in advance. Anyway, this bucket that I've prepared now is 500 parts per million, which, considering we're going to get, she could take it, but considering we're going to get a little bit warm, going to get more hot wind, and with that, my humidity will drop. I am going to put in 300 by just putting in the maximum amount of the concentration of the bucket and then topping up with plain water. Because of the way my pH doesn't rise that much with a little smidge of a 7 pH, I've got in here a pH of about 6.7, 6.8. And that just comes with knowing how my water behaves when I mix it after running around with a pH meter like a mother with a thermometer after a sick child. So you just know at the end, eventually you just know. Anyway, that is my beautiful bicolor. Whether she is going to bloom for us this year, don't know. She may need an up pot, but we shall see. I'm just going to leave her alone. Oh, there's one that I didn't bring out, but I want to show you. If the gifter is still in the house, on the patio, I will bring her out because Madam has had her flush and CalMag, but I wanted to show you. Fernanda Nascimento over there in Portugal. Look at this. Look at these two new grafts coming. Oh, chubby, big ones. And then there's, not to be denied, a little one in the back as well, coming right there. So she was flushed yesterday, and well, CalMag in the pot. I want those growths. I wonder if she'll ever bloom for us, but at least she's alive, Fernanda. And you can see she's also in a broken pot. I may, when the roots start here, just maneuver her out and give her a not broken pot. But you can see that she is well rooted in. I just yank her by the neck. Only with rooted in orchids do I do that. It is not a habit of mine that I don't even recommend you do it. Sorry, I should behave myself. She yanks her orchids out of her pot. I'm gonna do that. No, don't. Check the transmitter, we're good. Alrighty, this is my little Kyoguchi happy field. Ahem. This is a no-no. How dry that is. Did I get away with it? Too dry. It's hardly even damp. No bueno. So, in a situation like this, because I've been really bad, like it's gonna make any difference if there was any damage done to the roots because the leca got too dry, doing a double whammy is not gonna help. The roots are shot. But because I feel bad, I'm gonna give her 2 flushes and just say, oh, please forgive me. Because this orchid is one of the most beautifully fragrant orchids that I have in my collection. It's got tiny little yellow blooms. Oh my goodness, but size isn't everything. Oh, she is fragrant. She smells really like the perfume from Issey Miyake. Issey L'Eau de Miyake. So What I'm doing in the background is divvying up in here now. I just took a tiny smidge of my 500 parts per million water, filled the rest up with plain water, and brought the parts per million down to about 200. She's little. She doesn't need much. And yes, another thing. I fill the reservoir from the bottom because I don't want to be flushing again like I mentioned at the beginning. And then hopefully she'll do well. She hates the cold. That's why she looks scruffy. She will drop her leaves very quickly after these spots appear right here, which is a shame. So she did bloom in the winter, but there was like 3 blooms and I just took them off and gave her a little bit of a break. She's got an eye swelling, but it'll take her some time to come out of the gates. Now, the next one that I have, hello, where are you? Oh, there you are, my Leopoldii. Ah, you guys, I don't think I've shown this orchid for yonks. If you have been with my channel since the start, you'll probably say, oh, look at her. If you're seeing her for the first time, you're like going, so what's the big deal? Well, she's here. She's still alive. That's huge for me. The first one having had Fusarium, this is a replacement. Been battling to get her comfortable in Leca. Warm to hot grower, madam, bifoliate, all the diva attributes you can think of. And if you can hear the car on idle in the background, let me know. Oh, he's going through the gate soon. But look at this. Boom. Roots. Oh, isn't that amazing? Now, what I should be doing with this one is giving her calcium nitrate. Hello? No. Is giving her calcium. They're coming to take me away. Helicopter. Whoop! Send help. Oh, broken pot. Now would be the time to change it. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, thank you. Thank you much. No, unnecessary. Okay, we're busy here. So this would be the time to repot her. Ooh, I'm loath to do it. I'm going to have to, though, because I can't go another year like this. This is an orchid I don't want to be pulling out. Very dangerous situation. Okay, so we're going to flush her through. Just wanted to show her because we hadn't seen her for a long time. And I want to make sure that all those roots go through and make it, because this is not a happy root grower. This is the first time I've seen more than 3 roots start. This is her growth that grew throughout the winter. So this is the biggest ever root flush I've seen on this orchid. And I have a feeling that every orchid that has performed throughout the winter with new growth and is doing what they're doing that I haven't seen as generously as now is because of the calcium nitrate. I really pushed calcium nitrate, even if it was just tiny amounts. But if they were in active growth through the winter, it was calcium nitrate. And I think we are seeing the results of that calcium. So what she's got in here, even though I'm not going to fill this reservoir, she usually would prefer a hard, wet, dry cycle. So she doesn't need to sit in the reservoir with water as others would. She'll be fine. All her other roots that I can account for in there are pretty much viable. But if her reservoir weren't full, at this stage, it would be calcium, magnesium, and seaweed would go in. So the next time her reservoir dries out and she's absorbed everything, the seaweed, because if I see roots like this, oh baby, I want more. Well, at least I want these to make it. Let's put it that way. But isn't that awesome? I think we're going to do an up pot video with her. I can't do 2 more years because there's another thing that I do when I consider an orchid maybe eventually coming into bloom is to give her a pot that will force me not to disturb her, or at least try not to disturb her for another 2 or 3 years so that she can at least bloom. Because even, you know, like with the Dinard, every intervention risks that you won't get blooms that year, and then the orchid has to reset again. So, thoughts. That is just me thinking out loud based on the circumstance of this pot being broken. Me molesta. I'm telling you. That was unexpected. It's so easy to drop an orchid when it just collapses on you unexpectedly. But good news. Look at them roots one more time. I'm happy she's around. Bifoliate is also a scale magnet, so she's doing well. And that's the most important thing. Okay, I'm going to carry you back into the shade, sort of, kind of like, somewhat, excuse me. Alrighty. And take you back to the white bridle. And then see what are we up against with the chat. I think I saw maybe new people come in. I'm not really sure because the comments do disappear. Oh, my tripod is all nice and wet. Ah, yes, and I wanted to show you before we finish up, unless people have more questions, I wanted to show you the, just as a follow-up from last week, but I'm going to make a separate video. I want to show you the ongoings with my Dendrobium hibiki and my thoughts according to those, because one day I would like to geek out with somebody about Dendrobiums and why and how we can all help them through any kind of fungal issues without losing them. Okay. Good stuff. All right, where were we? Woohoo, we got Leah's link. Thank you, Ladybug. I appreciate that. Very, very much. Directly, Joe says, I already repotted some new cattleyas directly in orchid pots. Fantastic. I love repot. Joan, hello. It's wonderful to see you. Good morning. Thank you so much for coming to southern Spain, the patio. Richard, how are you? Good morning. You Well, you're going to have a great time growing that orchid. That is amazing. Oh, great. I love those. They're like catasetinae. Just water and feed well and you're good to go. Actually, you need an annex eventually. Oh dear. Okay, what do we got here? Amy, thank you so much for that super sticker. That is so sweet of you. I'll let the orchids know. Thank you for the support. Okie dokie, we're still going up. Okay. Not dead is always a good goal. That's what I aim for. Going into winter, coming out. Just doing a little bit of an inventory check to make sure, you know, who am I bringing through the winter and who didn't make it. And then we just hope we didn't get it wrong for the summer. And so on and so forth. It's the circle of life. Okay. Have I caught up? Are there any questions? Hey, don't worry about it, the verdant turf. If you're gone, that's fine. You know, city bus rules here. Hop on, hop off. All good. Oh my goodness, it's so good to see Richard as well. See some of these familiar names that I see in the comments. Ah, it's wonderful. Thank you for asking for the thumbs up. Thank you, Ladybug. I appreciate that. And yes, please do check out the other channels. And let's see. I've made it all the way down, unless I've missed one. The mini files, I just got my mini mark into bloom. Well, you see, there you go. Calcium nitrate can be used in that thing. But you see, if we use that word in conjunction with orchids, our roots explode, our growths explode. It's an explosion of growth and all that. Just didn't want to use it that way because of YouTube has little problems. The algorithm will pick that up and probably think we're planning something on the patio here. This white cattleya is the Cattleyanthus white bridal Snow White. She's gorgeous. And she smells like gardenias. And I couldn't pick up on that fragrance. I had to bring my daughter in and we started to talk through it. She couldn't pick up on it either. She started reminding me of what it reminds her of, and then we came through and it was gardenias. So yeah, she's awesome. So, okay, right. I'm going to take you back to the staging area, including my fancy handbag, aka extension cord. Excuse me for the jiggle, sorry. trying to do this very carefully. Okay, and I'm just going to show you the dendrobiums. And then I'm probably going to become a little bit pesada, as in a pain. That is Spanish for being a pain, translated as in very heavy weighted, but you know, that would be translation, but the sense of it being a pain. Okay, Dendrobium hibiki. Right. There's two in here because I did a massive division a couple of years ago. Now, here's the thing. We can't see any more spotting. Famous last words. Yay, we can't see spotting. But we can see how big the older structures were. Okay? So there's two things that can affect this orchid, and this is my thought process. One is that after the repot, the stress of dividing, losing structures, the radical intervention into the root system, even though in that video I show a trick as how to do it without interfering with the exterior at all. It's awesome. If you want to watch it, I may link. Yeah, why not? I'll link it into the description once this live stream has processed. But anyway, so minimal root disturbance after a massive intervention, cutting out the dead roots in the middle. So this is what I want to get back. It was going pretty well. And all these growths that you see here are kind of like post the division. So they're okay. I'm not upset about that. That would be normal to get them a little bit less. However, last year winter, because her parents, one of them is more temperature tolerant than the other, I left them outside and it was a night, maybe 12 degrees, is that 58 degrees Celsius, Fahrenheit? I don't know, something around there. Anyway, I left them out where they should be able to handle those low temperatures. They didn't. So there was no water that I put on the leaves. But when you have these temperature fluctuations where the days are already warming up and the nights are still kind of low, you've got that little thing called dew. And that started, it didn't take long, a fungus to develop. And the only thing that I think of now when it comes to dendrobiums, you're gonna lose the leaves anyway. If you're gonna use any kind of industrial fungicide, bactericide, whatever it is, they're gonna have a fit, they're gonna defoliate. And this is my nemesis. I am determined to figure out what it is with the cell structure of the leaves of dendrobiums that causes this. Anyway, so even though I was very vigilant with garlic alcohol, etc., and yes, they live next to each other, so both of them were affected. And I'm not a fan of cutting off leaves, but there comes a point in time where needs must. So I started chopping off leaves, and you can see the remnant here from a straggler growth, and I was like, oh, no, we're not doing it, so I chopped the leaf off. So this is nice, this is encouraging, we're getting there. But you can see she's trying to come into bloom. So in my opinion now, what I am going to do is just let her recover. I'm going to be popping off all this because she blooms for 4 or 5 months. I'm telling you, this orchid is insane. I'm going to miss her this season. But this is not what a Dendrobium hibiki should look like. They will lose their leaves eventually, but this is all me removing leaves, which weakens the orchid, which means that the next growth hardly stand a chance because they cannot photosynthesize. So this is an evergreen. This is not someone that goes deciduous. So of course, with no leaves to photosynthesize, how on earth is this orchid ever supposed to grow nice growths? Now, this is encouraging, all right, but she's also coming into bloom, and we're just going to stop that. So you see, the thing is that we talk about dendrobiums being tough and, they'll bounce back and yes, give it time and whatever. But in my opinion, they're not as tough as we sometimes make them out to be. Especially when it comes to warm to hot growers. If there is anything that the orchid doesn't like in a dendrobium, she will get spots. It is so, so annoying. My serratolabium is currently struggling. Why? Let me give you the answer when I figure it out, okay? Now we've got a little bit of glare here, but you can see this is my Patricia van Puyenbroek. Can you see the spotting there? This one I defoliated last year. I just thought, yeah, no, not happening. So this one, we're going to take off the leaves as well. Alcohol, soapy water, you name it, hydrogen peroxide, tried everything. This is not happening because the other growths are nice. And now I'm not going to touch the nice leaves, but you can see here we have another one. At least I hope it's not glaring. I want to be careful now what I'm touching. You see that? Mm-mm-mm. But she's growing really nice new growths. Even this one in the back here, I'd like to keep that up. But these guys, they need their leaves in order to perform. So this is not something that I like to do. I don't like to cut leaves or remove leaves at any moment. I prefer to see how something spreads and if I am stopping it or is it going to continue. And that's not a good thing when it comes to evergreen dendrobiums. So if you know of anything that takes a fungal infection and deals with it on a dendrobium that is evergreen, I would like to hear from you. And if you can tell me why this one product would work as opposed to the one that doesn't work, even just the normal household goods, I'd like to hear from you. And if you say there is nothing when it comes to fungal or bacterias except being radicals, removing leaves, etc., I would like to know why. And if you know that, I would like to hear from you. There are certain things that I have, it bugs me that I can't answer those questions. So if there's anything or anybody wants to do a live stream with me and just do a rabbit trail, there's that word again, together, then we can do that. And just shoot the breeze talking about all the variables and figuring out climate, what is it? Now I know she doesn't like the cold. I know the dew point. She was not outside during the winter. The hibiki and the Patricia wasn't outside either. I'm getting them to bounce back, but that is also why you have to forfeit blooms. If I let an orchid that is in that state bloom for 4 to 5 months, I mean, first of all, I'm not going to get new growths coming because the hormones are saying, I'm in bloom, who cares, no new growth. The moment I take all those little clusters off, the orchid is going to go, all right, we need to mobilize. Give me some growth. So that's the plan with my hibiki. But, yes, copper. Okay. I have made a huge doozy one summer, early spring, and I used copper fungicide, which I've always used with my orchids, never had any issues. Except Dingaling here looked at the weather report and saw that we were expecting 2 days of torrential rain back to back. And I went around with my copper fungicide and did everything, my vandas, you name it, everything that I could, think this is a good time to do it so that when it rains, it'll clear and the rain never came. And the double whammy was that because we had forecast 96% rain 24/7, 24 hours for 2 days in a row, not 24/7, but I upped the concentration a little bit. And well, I had a really, really hard time, let's just say. And oh, that's why you don't see big vandas on the patio anymore, except my chow prior, because I wrecked them. So I trashed that copper fungicide because I thought if I, after all these years, have been using it responsibly, well, with the ideal concentration, and I do that one time, it could be that after 3 or 4 years, I'm just going to get ahead of myself again and forget and then do it again. And it was so risky. I had copper residue on leca beads 2 years after I applied it and then went in for a repot, even though I flush on a regular basis. I don't, so that's the long story, Bet. I have to remember. Orchid Ninja Bet, son. That's the long story as to why I don't even dare use the stuff anymore. So I peel off the leaves and then I hope to recover the orchid. How do they survive fungal issues in nature? There's airflow. There's the right amount of airflow that balances with the humidity and the temperature. Now, they can also be super dry. And in a dry climate, there's less fungus. The minute you put in colder temperatures, you add humidity and you add airflow, it gets even colder because airflow is a cooling agent. So, I mean, one thing is, yes, you can have primary hybrids that occur naturally in nature as well. Other things is also when we hybridize orchids, we can get all sorts of funky little shenanigans going on that is out of our control. But if you have an orchid out in nature with fungal issues, then it has an underlying thing that something else transmitted into it, which could have been coming from an insect as well. But normally, the balance is perfection. That's why. That's the answer. That's the answer that I have. That's what I call my orchid equation. When people say I have these and these conditions, I want to have 3 building blocks, pillars of how can I help your orchid. I need to know this, 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 this. And that is my orchid equation. And based off of that, I can help when it comes to, what's going wrong with my orchid. And that's what's happening in nature. First of all, you mainly have species. So they already have their own hardiness based on where they're growing naturally. And if you have a primary hybrid that is occurring naturally and it hasn't been done and pollinated and artificially created, then that is also hardy based on what it can do in nature. Our job is to replicate that. And when one of those little elements of the equation is off, booyah. Now with many orchids, we can go in and do stuff. Everything works. Hydrogen peroxide works. My soapy wash works. Garlic alcohol is my go-to. Works 99% of the time, except when it comes to dendrobiums. Que frustrante. But I love it. As long as my orchid can live, I love it. If that means picking off blooms, I shall do that. Yes, they do need a lot of airflow. Truth Seeker, it's good to see you. Hello. How are you? How's your day? Thank you for coming to the patio in southern Spain. I'm about to wrap this up. I'm just checking to see if there are any more questions. It's the same with the native orchids that are in the terrestrials. Look at what Samurai Julie-san has got going. She, repotting one of her terrestrials, she needs to carry over those beneficials that are in the pot. Otherwise, that orchid is not going to make it. It is only able to grow when it has all of those things around the roots. And it actually, as she mentioned in the video, it came with a little packet or sachet or whatever it was in the media. And that has to stay there because it has all the goodies that specific orchid won't, it can't live without them. So, I would never dare grow an orchid like that, but I'm not in Australia, and then, And you said tea tree. Yes, you said that. I haven't tried that yet, but as you saw, I've just plucked the leaves off because what I could do is as a preventative measure, no? Sharon, son, tea tree oil. You also want to know that, right, Fernanda? So many. I think it's just super interesting as well, and we will one day crack the code. Airflow, dry conditions, they also get rained on, which is nature foliar feeding. Absolutely, as long as they have the right airflow and the right temperature, which they do out there. I do not dare foliar feed my dendrobiums at the best of times here. Even the fact that I'm so dry, I could foliar feed, but I wonder, can I show, why not? While we're on the subject, I'll show you my Fertilizers. She was doing fabulously. She was getting rained on. The temperatures were acceptable. She had her new growth growing. after being severed from one of the community mounts. And okay, shocker. Shocker, shocker. As the temperatures warmed up, foliar spraying. Look at this. This is no bueno. Absolutely no bueno. This is not a pest. I, I mean, in the evening, I do give her a little bit of garlic alcohol every once in a while, but this happened very quickly after foliar spraying because now it's warm, now it's breezy. Let's go for it. Let's just wash her down. Ooh, no, no, no. And my little Ceraula, she's getting some yellow leaves as well. So, and there's roots on the mount. They all have viable roots, and they were doing great while it was a little bit cooler. So, it's not like you can, from what I'm seeing here, with my conditions, it's not like I can just go and spray a Dendrobium and say, there you go, without having any kind of repercussions. I know, it's weird, but that's the thing. So what I'm going to do is, on that bombshell, but anyway, no, I don't want to be, like I said, these other things that go through my head, I mull over sometimes, even in the mornings. Eventually the answer will come. It's like when you look for it more and more and more, it just evades you and you get frustrated. But eventually the answer will come. And if it's going to be a orchid community project, then great. We did it together. We cracked the code together. But anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this little stint with me on the patio. I loved having you here. Oh, we're going to have, what I can tell, 2 spikes from Stan the Man are growing, but there's not much else movement, so he's going to take over. So I'm just going to love and leave you. I'm going to wish you, whatever time of day it is, or whenever you watch this, if you're watching this on replay, thank you so much. Check out all the links, please, in the chat. I will also link my Dendrobium hibiki division video. So have yourself a fabulous day. Thank you so, so much for coming. But do you know there's always a condition when I say goodbye? And that is that you please stay safe. Take care. Thank you, Kyle, for being here. So glad you could make it. Thank you so much. I left you a little comment right at the top. And thank you for the super sticker, Amy. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Bye, everyone. Have a great Saturday.